Well, here we are again, Scott, for another
Back at it.
episode.
How are you, Robin?
I'm doing well, a little tired, but that's okay. We're going to keep pushing through this time, right? And
That's
I know
all we can
speaking of
do.
tired, I know you're probably getting tired. It's the end of the school year, and you're in that last mile trying to make it all the way around through. So how's it going, wrapping up the school year?
It's exactly what you described. I mean, everybody is, in fact, we were talking pre-show, right? It feels like this last year has been about 6 years. So we're all, we've all been putting so much creativity and energy and effort into making the school year work and to keep students engaged and all that sort of thing. So I think everybody's definitely looking forward to a little break. Those that get the summer off are going to enjoy some 2 months off and, hopefully come back refreshed in the fall.
Yeah, it was so deserving. And hopefully, any educators out there listening right now, hopefully you received lots of love and celebrations last week for Teacher Appreciation Week.
Definitely.
Just wanted to personally, say thank you for all that you have done, each one of you out there, especially during this time where it's just been extra crazy. Every year teaching is hard and difficult, and it's just been extra difficult. So hopefully you all were able to receive some love, extra support from your staff and your communities that you live in. But I'm really excited tonight, Scott. We get to celebrate two of our awesome community members that are part of our Showcase School program here at Microsoft. So let's just go ahead and bring on our guest for the night.
You got it.
All right. So everybody out there, please join me in welcoming the amazing David Olinger. He is, let me get his official title here. He's got a mouthful. The Director of Digital Strategy at O'Day High School, which is in Seattle, Washington. And he is a key member of our Showcase School program here at Microsoft. And then also joining us is Miss Marissa Williams, who is from Canton, Georgia, which part of Cherokee County School District. And she is part of our incubator program to become a Showcase School. So essentially, David's school has, really demonstrated, and it's a shining example of excellence, a lighthouse school that, people from around the world come to see what they're doing, hear about their innovations that are taking place on the campus. And Marissa is joining us from a school who is, has a desire to become a Showcase School, to really work on their journey as a school and make sure that their mission is aligned to what they want it to be, and based all on research and best practices throughout schools. And so we're hoping and excited to have Marissa's school part of our incubator path to become a Showcase School. And what's so great about this time, I would say, is right now is our nomination period. So everybody that's tuning in tonight can learn a little bit about what it means to be a Showcase School, or what the process is to be an incubator school to eventually become a Showcase School. And if you're interested, you'll hear about why these folks are a part of this community, what they get from it, and then we'll leave you with resources on how you can learn more, and if your school, or if you're a school leader listening in, how you can join this program as well. So David and Marissa, you look so excited tonight to be here with us. Why don't we go ahead and start off by, David, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role and maybe one or two of the great things that have come out of this past year for you and your school?
Well, my role is that in some respects it's like a full-time coaching role. It's a full-time making sure our technology works role. I kind of, 4 or 5 years ago, I came into it. It was a director of I was a director of educational technology role, which was they wanted to advance a one-to-one program at the school, and that's where I learned about Microsoft and what Microsoft could do. But then after we advanced that, they realized all our systems were kind of now behind. Our educators were now using this modern technology, but then other systems had to catch up. And so my role now kind of looks at the whole organization and kind of advances the organization to make sure we're using cloud-based tools, that we're using, making sure we're using the most modern technologies we can to service our students and customers. So
awesome. So what I hear you telling me is that you really kind of focus on that technology blueprint and those intelligent environments inside of a school environment.
Right. Yeah.
And what about you, Marissa? Can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Indian Knoll?
Yes, I am the ISTE Technology Lab teacher at Indian Knoll, and I teach kindergarten through fifth grade students basically the effective way to use all types of technology.
Dig in there a little bit more. Tell the audience here, what does that mean, effective way to use technology in the classroom?
So I just try to combine different standards, like their grade level standards, but then I use those grade level standards to introduce different types of technology. So we work really hard on learning all of our Office 365 tools and like the accessibility tools that go with it, or how we can share and collaborate with others. We do the native iPad apps, and we also have an LMS system. We use Canvas. So basically my role is to teach those students how to use that, so that kind of takes a little bit off the teachers and they can focus more on whatever projects that they have going on, where they don't have to teach them also how to use the technology, but the students already have that background.
So they're just using it seamlessly in their classroom with the projects and things that they're doing.
Yes.
Excellent.
Love that. Being a part of these programs really, for me, has always been about the connections that you make. So I'm curious from both of you, maybe Marissa, we'll start with you as an incubator school. What's been the most impactful connection or experience Indian Knoll's been able to make this year, either yourself personally or the school as a whole?
Well, two of the other MIEEs and myself, we attended the ETF workshop back in the winter, and we were able to connect with other incubator schools and other showcase schools. And the goal of that workshop was to learn how the education transformation frameworks can how your school can align with those different frameworks. But the great thing about that was that we met other showcase and incubator schools, and we got to see what their successes were and what their struggles were. And it was really nice to connect with schools that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to connect with and learn from.
And was there one takeaway? Was there maybe a common thread among those conversations, or any like one particular light bulb that went off for you guys?
I don't know. I mean, just the forming of the digital transformation teams within your school and that collaboration, I thought that was a good takeaway, and just making sure that you're working together as a team and you guys all are working towards that same vision.
Absolutely. Yeah. Vision and big picture is such an important part of all of this, right?
Yes.
And David, speaking of big picture, you all have done a great job at O'Day of your annual conference and whatnot that you held. I was able to attend part of it this year, which was amazing. As a showcase school, how does the connection change? How does your experience, or what's the biggest takeaway from this past year, or maybe even just the history of you all being a showcase school?
Yeah, I think, the thing that I learned being a showcase school is that Microsoft is a partner. They're not just a company out there that develops these products that you use, but they're really truly a partner. There's people flying around in purple capes and riding llamas in the background, really driving innovation. And, I think that we kind of came into a showcase school rather rapidly. We had this transformation. We really, I had gone and visited a bunch of schools, and those that were using Digital Ink, OneNote, and this was back in, 2016. That those schools were really successful. So I just kind of adopted that model. I was reading a lot of literature that was coming out of the EDU space. But then once it became a showcase school, I think Mike Tholfsen visited my school and then kind of brought me on this path, our school on this path to be a showcase school. But then that partnership really opened up. You realize there's a lot of people out there. Microsoft has a ton of smart people they hire. They produce great literature that you can kind of, in my job, kind of metabolize and bring to the school and the students. But really what I found out was that there's this great partnership out there, and all you have to do is tap into it.
Yeah.
This is open to the ideas you have as you're open to the ideas they have, and you can really develop some cool things like that conference that we do. I mean, that was a partnership. It wasn't just one entity saying we're going to do a conference. It was, Microsoft providing some keynote speakers, providing some amplification of it, and then it's grown from a 100-person conference in 2016 to 450 this year. So,
yeah. So, Marissa, this is the one for you, I guess. So, as a member of our incubator program to become a showcase school, what was it, or how did it come about when you were having school discussions that this was something that you guys wanted to do and that this was the path that you wanted to go down? Why did you guys choose to do this year and be part of this?
Actually, the media specialist and I have been talking about applying for years, and we just finally met last summer and completed the application and got pulled together our evidence, and we were like, we're going to do it this year. So, I mean, our school that we work at is just like a top-notch school. Like, our educators are incredible. So we've always known that this was something that we wanted to do and we wanted to apply for. We just finally sat down and did it because, I mean, we definitely wanted to try.
Yeah. And what about you, David? Obviously, you've been part of the program for a while now, but, thinking back to that 2016 timeframe, what was it that you said, you know what, there's a bunch of programs for schools. There's all sorts of, companies out there that do things for schools. What made you say, you know what, I think this is something we should dig into a little bit more?
Well, I was new in this director role at the time. I had been directing a social emotional learning program, but when I came into the technology space, I knew the classroom, but I didn't really know how much, and I kind of knew what technologies were working. But Microsoft, what really attracted me, I guess, to this program was Microsoft was producing that transformational leadership literature in 2016. And I was trying to gather as much information I could about, what's best practices in classrooms. And Microsoft kind of was, I think at the time, and they were really pushing out a lot of stuff with education. And it seemed that they were invested in that. And so at the time, I guess Google was still kind of the lion in the classroom there. I think a lot of people were looking at Google. But I thought that, the power of OneNote and digital ink, annotation, and the literature I was reading from Microsoft, which really did help me kind of articulate our vision to the and help develop the vision with our senior leaders. That's what attracted me to Microsoft. And in that literature, there was the showcase school literature, and there were local schools around that had achieved that. And I had talked to some of their directors, and those teachers that were in those programs, that the schools were in those programs, seemed very satisfied with the solutions that were being used in the classroom. And that's what really attracted me, was more that seemed much more in alignment with what teachers needed. And Microsoft seemed a little more obsessed about what the teachers needed and what the students needed, as opposed to selling a technology, if that makes sense. So that's what really attracted me to it. And I think I kind of naturally we just kind of fell, I don't know if the right word is fell into it, but, we kind of dug in deep and said, this is what we're doing. We're going 100% with Microsoft. They were building something called Microsoft Classroom at the time, which eventually they replaced with Teams. But that was kind of, that's where we were. We just made the decision to kind of pull the trigger on the Microsoft environment.
Yeah, no, and it makes totally sense. I mean, honestly, it's the reason why I took a job working at Microsoft in education and leaving my own school district. Is it was not about, I mean, obviously everybody's like, oh, you're going to work at Microsoft. I guess, we're just a little school district and we're not Microsoft. And I was like, no, it's really not about that. It's really about thinking differently. And really, when I was an educator and a school leader myself, having those conversations with the folks at Microsoft and being part of some of the research groups that were, talking about 21st century learning design before anybody else was talking about it, and being able to really take a look at some of those things and measure it in the classroom and the impact. But it was the philanthropy that was really behind a lot of the research that Microsoft was driving. And it wasn't, wasn't something that they were like, just like, hey, we want you to buy our product. I mean, the product is free and for education at this point, but it was more about taking a holistic worldview about education transformation. And that's what sold me as an educator, if anything, to why I even came to this company, was all exactly what you're saying. It was not technology for the sake of technology, but really looking at, years and years of data and research and, being able to put that in a framework for schools to be able to leverage so that they can do the things that they've been seeking to do for 20 years, right? So now I appreciate that perspective, and it makes 100% sense to me. But, I work here. So, so it's more meaningful coming from you. So thinking about, the nomination process is going to be opening up, or actually opened up already. On the 6th, we launched our nomination process. If you had to give advice to someone who's watching today, a school leader, or someone who's in a leadership role at their school, and they're looking to maybe be part of the Showcase School community, what's one piece of advice that you would have for them as they're starting to put their application together? David?
Well, my advice is really that this community is very open, and if you want to know about the Microsoft Showcase School or what those schools go through, just if you're on Twitter, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Facebook, there's a lot of people part of this community, and it's a great community to be part of. I would say do the application and join the purple cape clad folks that are really changing and transforming education. I'd say, just go for it. It's a great community, and it's really made my community better. It's made my experience in some respects at the time a very new role of advancing technology. So there's a lot of support out there. Microsoft's a great partner, and there's a lot of partner teachers out there and people in roles like mine out there in the community.
All right, and over to you, Marissa. Coming as an incubator school, you guys are coming in. So, and just so everybody knows, when schools come into the process at this point, all schools coming into the Showcase School program apply in the incubator stage. And so that's the year that we work together. We really partner, go through the education transformation framework. What is it? Help the schools, realize their vision and their journey, and then how to get, to the end of their journey, or it's really not the end because we're never done. But Marissa, if you had to give one piece of advice, what would your advice for someone who's trying to come into the incubator path?
My advice would definitely be to identify other teachers that can help you through the process, especially administrators or just your early adopters, and get your teachers excited. Like, we created a school-wide hashtag, and we introduced some teachers to Twitter that weren't even on Twitter. And so our teachers at our school are posting way more on Twitter than they ever have in the past. And it's just great to get a peek into their classroom where we used to not be able to. So I would say do it and get your teachers excited and find those people that'll help you through the process.
Yeah, I love how you're really kind of pointing out, bring all stakeholders' voices into the conversation. If this is something that just the school leader is driving, but doesn't have buy-in from teachers or counselors or paraprofessional staff, et cetera, inside the campus, it really takes, if you're going to be a Showcase School and you're going to go through this together, it takes commitment from, parents and community and staff and leadership all together, working together, kind of rowing that boat all in the same direction, right? So I love how you really mentioned the inclusion of all voices there. And Scott, you're at a Showcase School.
Yeah, I was just going to extend that conversation, actually, Robin, and even add a few other groups. Like, if you have a business office, if you have counseling, admissions, get your parents involved. I think the more you can educate your entire community. Oftentimes we think just the students and the teachers, right? Or those on the academic side of the house. But really, the more folks you get rowing the boat, as we say, it really becomes, part of your culture. You don't have to, we used to answer a bunch of questions at the beginning of the year. We're, I think, 8 years into our Showcase School relationship now. And we used to get a ton of questions about, hey, why'd you choose Windows? And why not Google? Why not Apple? All these different things. And now they've seen the benefit of the program, and it really markets itself, because everywhere they go, they see OneNote, they hear about Teams, all these different things. So really, truly, it's a community effort, and driving this thing forward does take the entire community, the entire population to really make it successful.
Yep, love that.
And in line with that, it does take the whole community to grow, right? It's very easy to grow hard and fast, and then you kind of plateau a little bit and think about, okay, what's the next step? How do we recharge, especially coming out of this last 12, 15, 18 months? So David, I'll start with you. What are the goals for next year? What are you all looking at, whether it be the technology that you're using or just teaching philosophy? Like, where does O'Dea High School go as we move into 21, 22?
Oh man, I'm reluctant to say there's more goals than just getting through this year.
That's fair. That's fair.
But non-official, I think that really I think that, a lot of businesses are looking, how does this change work? How has this pandemic changed the way we relate to our work? Mainly like on campus, off campus. But for me, I just in my role, I think, okay, well, students are going to want flexibility, just like workers are going to want flexibility. And I think that really we've built a lot of skills. O'Day was lucky. We didn't miss a single day of school when the governor shut down because we had practice. All we had to learn was we've been using Teams. We've been using all this product already. Everyone's familiar with it. I didn't have to do a bunch of trainings. I just had to train people on one thing, which was the stream. But if I'm looking towards like the future, and I know that I'll get pushback from my administration if they watch the stream, but is that I think that just like workers want flexibility, I think the world's going to want flexibility. And so I think we've learned how to deliver flexibility. I don't know if teachers love that, and I don't know if we've really refined it yet. But if you ask me what's next is how do we make it so that kids don't have to miss class if they get injured, or if they have to, maybe their parents have taken them someplace for a week. It's not up to them. Like, how do we make it so that the classroom is anywhere, anytime still, and make that actually, really thrive? So that's what I think that the next step is looking at that flexibility, and how do we deliver that continuously?
Yeah, and you said administration, but I think also faculty, right? In this teacher-driven world, classrooms have been teacher-led for so long, and we are as by nature, we're kind of control freaks, right? We want to control the environment, and we're in charge of the information, and certainly to your point, hopefully we can give up some of the control of that and kind of make it more flexible and real time, anytime. I love how you said that. Marissa, what about you guys? Obviously, incubator school, slightly different approach, hoping to go to the next level, but what kinds of conversations are you all having as we head into next year?
We've kind of built our foundation. So our next step is to build on that foundation and kind of look at where we went this year and what kind of goals that we created, and then create an action plan for next year as we get ready to move forward, hopefully into a showcase status, but just create new goals. And we also have quite a few new staff joining us. So we want to get them up to speed with our incubator school and showcase school information and invite them to be a part of our digital transformation team if they are interested.
Great. I love that. Yeah. And so it's a good reminder that, staffs are always changing. So it's that constant, turnover of making sure that as you're bringing in new teachers into the campus, that they feel a part of that culture and feel a part of the community and understand why, that this is important to the school and something that you're striving towards. So a great call out there. I think something that a lot of people might, miss and think like, oh, everybody's just going to figure this out. But I think getting new folks in is getting them grounded in this as well, and having them understand and not only what it is, but the why, for sure.
Yep.
Well, before we let you guys go, this was being really great. We want to see if you're down to stay for a couple more minutes and play some lightning round with us.
Sure.
Are you in?
I have no idea what this is. This is exciting.
That's the whole point.
All right. Have you ever seen Stephen Colbert's show where he brings guests on and then he always asks them random questions? This is kind of like that. All right. Well, we'll keep it easy and fun. So let's start off really easy. And we'll start off, Marissa, by you answering this one first, and then followed by David, and then we'll flip vice versa. So first question, what is your favorite food?
Spaghetti.
All right, David?
Any kind of curry. I love curries.
Ooh, good choice. I like that too. All right. Next one, David, you're first this time. What's your favorite sound?
My favorite sound is the sound of my children, all of them at once.
Oh, do I sense sarcasm there?
No, it's my favorite sound. The sound of children.
Hopefully laughing, not crying, right?
Yeah, all of it. I love all of it.
That's awesome.
Love it. Marissa?
I would have said my kids laughing. Yes.
Oh, nice. All right. So let's go the opposite way now. Marissa, what is your least favorite sound?
Really loud, like leaf blowing sounds.
Okay, David?
Well, I just learned this one. There they're doing construction behind me, and I guess my least favorite sound is the sound of a tree being ripped out of the ground. That's my least favorite sound right now.
I have to say that's not a good one for sure. All right, next question. We'll have you start this time, David. What is the app on your phone that you use the most often?
LinkedIn.
All right, and Marissa?
I'd say Facebook.
Hey, we all have our own guilty pleasures, right?
Don't cringe at that. Those are both easy rabbit holes to go down for sure.
Yeah.
Aren't they the same thing?
All right, I'll turn it over to Scott and let him ask a little bit more serious questions.
A couple more, Marissa. We'll start with you. What job outside of education would you most like to attempt?
A fitness instructor.
Okay, nice. And David?
Outside of the school I work in, or but
outside of education.
Yeah.
Outside of it, well, I think that I would like to come up with a way to disrupt the university system using technology, because I think it's overpriced. And I know that's kind of an education, but I want to disrupt it, change it.
I like it. I'm on board. If you figure out a way, and I'm on board for that project for sure.
I have some ideas actually.
I like it.
Later.
So David, back to you. We'll go the flip side of that one as well. What job outside of education would you definitely never want to attempt?
I probably like working at the New York Stock Exchange, probably.
Okay. And Marissa?
I'd say like an emergency room doctor.
Oh yeah, I couldn't do that either. No thanks. Weak stomach over here. And then lastly, we'll end with this, Marissa. When your career's over at your retirement party or your end of year luncheon, what do you hope your colleagues are saying about you?
Oh, that I guess that I kept the students at the forefront of what I did, and that I was a caring teacher, I guess.
Love it. David?
Probably that I was kind to people.
Awesome.
Well, those are great aspirational goals, and I'm sure everybody thinks those things of both of you already. So we're so excited to have you join us tonight, guys, and really give your perspective of being a part of the Showcase School program and the Incubator School program. And I know many people will find this very valuable, and we definitely appreciate the time that you've given us. It's the most important non-renewable resource probably is your time. You never can get that back. So thank you for spending some time with us here tonight, and for all that you do for your staff, your students, your families, and your community in your schools. We need more trailblazer leaders like you out there. So thank you for everything from the bottom of our hearts.
Awesome.
Thanks.
And thanks for all the positive energy that keeps us going all year long from the Microsoft EDU. Thank you.
Our pleasure. We try.
Thanks, you guys. Have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
It's always so great to hear so many different perspectives and just see great leaders out there really leading the way and leading the charge for their communities, really, and
so. Yeah, it speaks to the importance of leadership, right? I mean, we talk about it so often, but how many times do you see examples of, bad leadership or absent leadership, and you really, people like Marissa and David really shine and show just how important that vision and guidance and direction is from the top down. Really fun to hear.
It takes all voices, to be part of change, but, very critical for leadership to be in sync with everyone else and really have a vision that maybe others don't, and able to lead that charge for sure. We all look to our leaders in our organizations to give us hope and aspiration and make us better human beings. So really awesome to see. So let's kind of jump over to our segment, Scott, and we'll talk a little bit, to the rest of everybody out here about this process and the program, and a few other examples of some schools in our program and some things that they've been able to do. So I think we'll start off by highlighting another one of our Showcase schools here in the United States, Renton Prep, which is located in Renton, Washington. Dr. Michelle Zimmerman, who you see pictured on the left there, is an amazing school leader and educator at that school, who has been a very dynamic, shining example of what school leadership and educators can do for schools. The thing that I like the most, I think, for me, about Renton Prep is how they really give all their students a voice. They lift their students up and empower them. And here you see some of the students at Run Prep, they actually travel alongside of many of their educators and leaders at the school to co-present or present about what they're doing. And so you'll see conferences at like ISTE that are full of teachers and teachers sharing about what they're doing in their classrooms and school leaders sharing those things. And my favorite sessions are the ones that actually show up with these learners, and the kids are leading the way and sharing what they're doing. So we wanted to give a shout out to Renton Prep for continuing to give every student a voice on your campus and teaching these students how to be future leaders.
And Robin, I know you feel as though I do. Some of these kids are better presenters than some of the teachers I see at some of these conferences. It's absolutely amazing what these kids, how they shine on stage and the knowledge they're able to share. Pretty fun.
Absolutely.
And we already heard from David tonight. Again, we appreciate all his insight and everything. He mentioned the conference that they hold, the Innovative School Transformation Conference that was fully virtual this year. I was so impressed. And you could tell that, again, with his leadership and the rest of his team, that they really had thought this whole process out, using Teams and channels. Their program was all organized with links and everything. But aside from the organization, just the innovative topics. I mean, it was everything from mental health and wellness and SEL to Microsoft tools, collaboration. They really hit on a lot of the different areas that are vital and really important in education right now. So really amazing to see, not just a OneNote conference, not just a Teams conference or a Flipgrid, but really touching all the different key points of the education journey, especially this year during COVID. So once again, David and the team at O'Day, we thank you for all your efforts and great job. And we look forward to next year's conference. I'm sure it'll be even better.
Yep. We also want to give a shout out to Ursuline Academy, which is located just outside of Dallas, the Dallas area. Really an amazing dynamic school that empowers, again, their students to help drive their own learning. They're doing some really awesome things at Ursuline. It relates to technology, specifically it relates to coding. And so really getting students armed with the skills of the future and getting students to be able to be critical thinkers and problem solvers. And it's really amazing to see what these learners at Ursuline have been taken care of. So we want to give a special shout out to Ann Robertson, who is one of the leaders at the school leading the way and the charge at that showcase school.
And this next one, shameless plug, I'm a little proud of this one, less about our school and more about the network in Southern California. The three other showcase schools that started the year with us, Southridge, El Camino Real Charter School, and Woodcrest Junior High, all came and visited us, did a showcase school tour on our campus and spent half or 3/4 of a day with us before becoming a showcase school. And it wasn't necessarily anything we did other than start the conversation and then be able to continue those conversations moving forward. So as we get back into, more normal times, I certainly encourage every showcase school, every school really involved in education, to open their doors. Welcome. If you think you're excelling or shining in an area, invite schools to come visit, start the dialogue, have the conversation. And I know I learned as much from the schools that visited as I hope they learned from us in touring our classrooms and talking to our teachers and students. So a thank you to these three schools for spending time with us and for going on this journey with us here in Southern California.
Well, we're grateful for Santa Margarita and all the work that you lead there, Mr. Brooker.
Thank you, ma'am.
Our next school that we want to highlight is Park Avenue Christian Academy, which is outside of Florida. And you may or may not recall, if you were joining one of our previous episodes where we had Taylor Lowe, he was an educator at is an educator at Park Avenue Christian Academy. And they're just doing some really amazing things. They really think outside the box here a lot. They have an amazing esports program. And I think I saw somebody in the chat giving an esports chant earlier. So definitely they must have known that we were going to talk about Park Avenue and their amazing esports program and the innovative spaces that they are designing around this program, and giving, again, students who may not traditionally participate in team sports or what we have grown up as normal athletics programs, but giving these students a place to shine as well. So thank you so much to Park Avenue for leading the way and honestly being a lighthouse for and someone that we can talk to about this conversation, as I'm not an expert on it and we all want to learn more. So thanks for sharing all of that and everything that you're doing there.
And last but certainly not least, I sort of consider one of the OGs of the Showcase School program, really one of the schools and leaders that led the way with this thinking outside the box of how to do professional development, how to connect. But Bear Creek Middle School in Georgia, and especially our initial guests, our pilot episode guests, Anthony Newbold and Darren Clay, were the leaders back then in 2015, 2016. And they kind of really jumped on board with this whole Redefined Learning Conference idea. And they've hosted thousands of educators and partnered with Kennesaw State and other universities and schools in the area to really just flip the script and change the mold about how we teach, how we learn, how we involve teachers. And I know even since Anthony and Darren have moved on to other opportunities, that school has continued to be a great leader in the community, both locally in Georgia, but also in the Showcase School community as well. So thanks to Anthony and Darren and everybody at Bear Creek who continues to be another guiding light, another shining star in our community.
Absolutely. Well, I guess as always, we get to close the show recognizing some amazing EPIC educators. And so this week we want to give some shout outs to EPIC educator number one, Craig McBain. Craig is an educator, a retired educator now, but still works in the education space even after retirement in Michigan. And just wanted to give him a shout out for really seeing the potential of Reading Progress. We launched Reading Progress last week on May 4th. I mean, you can see his tweet there. May 4th was the day that we launched it. If you haven't heard about Reading Progress yet, it's a new tool that we just leveraged or we just launched. It's not publicly available yet, but it will be for the start of the school year. And it is essentially a tool that will help all students improve their reading fluency. It's one of the probably the most amazing things I've seen in a very long time as a former literacy teacher, and can only imagine, not only the time this will save teachers, but the really, I would say the empowerment it's going to provide for students to be able to go through a process where they become better readers and not have any stigma attached to it, or not feel embarrassed to have to read out loud in front of their classmates, but give them a safe place to practice their reading, save time by leveraging AI to help them coach them through their reading and see where they're able to where they are struggling to how they can improve. So excited about Reading Progress, and wanted to give a shout out to Craig for sharing that news with all of his followers out there as well. So the more teachers that know about this, the more hands this can come in for students.
I can't wait to see Reading Progress and get it in the hands of all students. It's going to be so impactful when it rolls out, for sure.
The next EPIC educator we want to recognize is Martha from Georgia. And I'm not going to try to slaughter your last name, Martha.
Buongiorno, come on.
Sure. But the MIE experts did a fun series of scavenger hunt challenges this past week, and Martha's response about her favorite routine or daily activity was super awesome. So Martha, thanks for sharing your personality with your students and with us, and we applaud you for finding benefits in allowing students to be seen, heard, and of course, definitely valued. And our last but definitely not least EPIC educator this week goes out to Mr. Matthew Nickerson from Maryland. Matthew is so many words for Matthew. He's a published author. He's a great member of our MIE expert community. But we appreciate you sharing that amazing new data and analysis coming to Microsoft Forms for everybody. Matthew was highlighting that this week. These new features will feature data comparisons to help educators draw correlations between questions to get better a sense of how students are learning and performing in their classes. The assessment and data are so much more than just what was the class average. And these new additions to forms will certainly help teachers and students take their game to the next level. So thank you, Matthew, for recognizing the power of Microsoft Forms and embracing that and sharing that knowledge out there with the world. So we are wanting to wrap up tonight and just say again, a thank you to David and Marissa for sharing about their experience as an incubator and a Showcase School program with all of you tonight. We're excited for our next show in 9 days, where we'll shift gears and we're going to talk a little bit more about the higher ed space. And we'll be inviting some of our friends from UT to share the amazing work that they're doing across many different initiatives at the university. So that's what we're looking forward to next. But we did want to, again, say great. Thank you to David and Marissa tonight for sharing your expertise with us. And as a reminder, you all can still watch the sessions from E2. Those are over at aka.ms/E2. That's a ton of YouTube sessions that are on demand and live that if you want to learn from other amazing leaders, just like Marissa and David, there are so many sharings and learnings that can take place over there. So please take a moment to check those out. And don't forget, you can always access this episode. It is going to sit on our YouTube channel or any of the previous ones as well. So if you want to catch some of this again, if you missed part, or you want to see a previous episode, as I mentioned, we had Taylor Lowe. He was a great episode. Any of those are always on demand for you all. And we're just grateful to have you here learning with us tonight and look forward to what's next.
Absolutely. Another great show, Robin. Excited to talk more of the higher ed space. I feel like we're covering the entire gamut of education, which is really awesome, and looking forward to closing the school year out on a high note.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we should invite David to talk to UT about, disrupting higher ed.
There you go. Making connections. I like it. I'm all for it.
All right. Well, thanks, friend, for being here again with me tonight. I look forward to seeing all of you in the near future. Have a wonderful night, and I'll give you a coffee cheers to everybody out there.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye.